I have had to tell someone they can no longer drink in Pinterest. Because
yeah, exactly.
and once you finish those selections, and as a team, everybody knows this is the right answer, you have to step away from the internet. At the end of the day, there's a lot of the same parts and pieces that all the builders are using, how they put those together, how they interact with you, what the experience is like. That's what's the game changer in our mind.
Hey y'all, welcome to our first episode of Breaking Ground by Oyler Hines. For those of you that don't know us, our firm, Oyler Hines, is a local real estate firm here in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area. We have two divisions of our company. We have our resale division, delivering existing homes, and then we actually have our new construction division that is specializing in new builds and new homes all throughout the region. So we're lucky enough to be called the #1 new construction and resale team here in Cincinnati with Cole Banker. But most importantly, why we're here today is actually to introduce you to Michelle Moran of J&K Custom Homes. For those of you that don't know Michelle, she's been a multi-homeorama builder. She has done so many custom homes at the highest level, whether it's in Indian Hill, Mason, Deerfield Township, Westchester, you name it, she has built it, and she is an exquisite custom home builder. In fact, most often you probably don't even get a chance to tour her homes because she's designing them and building them for customers. Today, we're actually gonna sit down with her, dive into her business, how she got started, which is a little bit unique of a actual startup compared to most builders. We get to hear really from the horse's mouth of what she's all about and what her building company kind of focuses on and what they deliver better than anybody else. So without further ado, let's dive in and meet Michelle Moran. Michelle, good to see you.
Mike,
thanks
good
for
to see
coming
you.
on in here. Yeah, this is the first builder interview we're doing.
All right.
And we talk to each other almost every single day on different projects, and I probably wear you out a little bit.
No, I welcome the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Like we were just talking about having too much coffee and that kind of stuff, so
Right.
I'll try to slow down today.
Yeah.
But no, we're excited because we wanted to get people to know you. I know you obviously pretty dang well now, but it's funny because when we sit down in client meetings, that's not always the case. You know, you're just kind of doing the sales pitch, and people don't get to know you for you. And I think that's one of the best parts about this. So before we get into who you are, your company, I wanted to jump into a key question, which I want to start all these with, is what do you think the most important aspect of building a home is?
Who you build with.
Oh, nice.
So at the end of the day, there's a lot of the same parts and pieces that all the builders are using, how they put those together, how they interact with you, what the experience is like. That's what's the game changer in our mind.
Yeah, you know, we always talk about the team.
Yes.
The team. It's like your team. That's probably true in anything, but when there's so many different variables going into building a house, if you don't have a good quarterback, a good leader, it can be a mess.
That's right.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And it's right now, call it an 18-month journey. You know, it can be shorter than that. It might be a little bit longer, just depending on the project, but you're in it for the long haul. So you want to make sure you're aligned with the right match.
Yeah, it's like picking a life partner. You got to make sure.
It is.
If life was 18 months, but still. But you still work with them. I mean, you're probably getting called back to houses you've done a year or two ago because they had a question for you.
Right.
And they're just curious how something happens, right?
That's right.
So it's nice when you have that good connection and collaboration with somebody.
That's huge. Yep, agree.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Well, let's dive in. Obviously, I know J&K Custom Homes. You know, you've been doing this for a long time.
Almost over 20 now.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, gosh.
Yeah.
You do better research.
I'm only 30.
Yeah. I'll get you a Wikipedia page updated and that kind of stuff.
Thanks.
But tell us about J&K Custom Homes. I know you get to work with your dad. I work with my dad, obviously, which is some of the best part. But you know, it's funny, I don't work with your dad as often as I work with you. I talk to you all the time. In fact, I don't think I've ever met your dad in person, but I've had the luxury of working with you day in, day out. So tell us whatever is important to you for people to know about J&K Custom Homes, whether it's how many houses you've built, the areas you focus, how you get started, any of that kind of stuff.
Well, so we started the business after my husband and I moved back from Chicago to Cincinnati and built our home. And the experience had room for improvement. We'll leave it at that. And
hence the team might have been not as good as yours.
Everything from communication and trust and organization. And just to back up a little bit, my background was I went to Miami, finance and accounting major, ended up at Deloitte in Chicago. So I was all about project management, client service. And my father had a background in corporate America and corporate finance. And so we saw this whole experience go down, which is supposed to be a really special, that sometimes it's once in a lifetime that you build a home.
Of course.
And sat back and thought, okay, there's got to be a better way. And it's kind of the typical entrepreneur spirit vision where you're like, I see a need, let's go after it. And that was it. So the whole vision and purpose and our mission is to create a completely different, better experience for our clients through the build process.
Well, I've seen that firsthand. Obviously, I've seen how much you cater and curate that whole experience to them. When did this start? So what year did you build to before you started the company?
Oh gosh. So we started in 2004, but baby steps, right? Yeah. And so we've built easily over 50 homes now. And our primary focus is new home construction, but we do take on remodel projects if they fit the right scope and the right timing and all that. And we've probably done 20, maybe more remodel projects. Oh, wow. So so
there's been quite a bit. So and you focused a little bit. At first you were up north a little bit first, right? Like up in the Mason, that area, and then you've worked down now into the core of Hamilton County and all of that kind of stuff, right?
That's right.
Montgomery.
Yeah. So we started over actually in Westchester and then moved even more into Mason and Deerfield. And I guess we keep moving south. Keep moving south. So now we built in Montgomery. We've done a lot in Indian Hill lately. We've got one we're working together on in Hyde Park. That'll be starting.
Awesome house, by the way.
We'll exciting project.
We'll pop a little image right over here of that. That's gonna be one of the coolest ones.
Yeah, we're super excited.
And there's another house before this ends that I want to talk about because it's probably one of my favorite houses in the region that you built.
I think I know which one.
Yes. Yeah, it's a pretty unique, special house. But tell us about the dynamic between you and your dad. How you guys work together.
Oh, that's a good one because that is I'm probably the risk taker and he's the conservative. I don't know if you have that with your dad.
You know what's funny? We might be the opposite way. Yeah. He's probably more of the risk taker and I'm more of like, oh God, crap. Watch yourselves.
And we play those roles a little bit also in the company that he oversees the finance, the legal aspect of everything. And I work with the clients and work on land acquisition with you. So it's been a very good pair.
Yes. And there's a lot of trust there. Obviously, with
ton of trust,
which is the best part.
Yeah.
We're so fortunate for that, by the way.
Yes.
I was just talking to somebody else about that. Just like having, whether you say it's a mentor, but just having your dad right there. It's like a partner in crime. You know?
It is. I mean, that's been a gift beyond any kind of financial success of the company.
Although there's also the negative stuff, by the way. We'll leave that out.
Well, there's a lot of family talk. Or every family event is some kind of business talk. But,
that is true. Yeah, I always say that every time we have Christmas or anything, it's just another conference meeting at our office.
Yeah.
It's the same people, which we need to get out more every once in a while. But sorry.
No. So, but no, it's been a gift. And it's been awesome. So that's kind of the roles we play. And, we went into this knowing that trust and integrity and financial stability was something that's not always with every builder.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we've always, those are some of our foundation we always build upon.
Well, and it's funny because just in preparing, obviously we talk a lot. I was looking at your website, reviewing it a little bit more just to make sure I was up to speed on the stuff that we don't talk about every day, right? Just your core values and that sort of thing. It is, I think the most underrated piece of building a home is the books. Like understanding what's going on, tracking it, making sure you're not in over your head or your numbers are accurate. So I think your background being in accounting and finance and your father's being there in that world and realm too.
Right.
You're really, you're project managers in one sense, but you're also your accountants together. Like there's a lot that goes in. You probably spend as much time in a spreadsheet than any CFO of a company.
Right. Yes, a lot of time. And I mean, your clients, they're asking you to work with a lot of their wealth.
Yeah.
And so we don't take that lightly. And when there's change orders or when there's additional costs involved in a project, we like to be very transparent and upfront. And sometimes I hear about some of these clients that get to the end of a build with other builders and they're like, oh my gosh, we got to the end and we got a bill for this and we had no idea. And I can't fathom that because every step of the way we use Builder Trend, we use a system. And so there's sign-offs and transparency the whole way through on what our clients are spending or what's extra, what's included. I think that would make me crazy to get to the end of a build and not know. And
there's already enough surprises in this business. I think. I mean, it's kind of like problem solving, right? Because you're always problem solving. There's always things that you can't expect, but as you can be diligent and you can be proactive, but you still have to figure stuff out. So the last thing you want to do is deal with the problems you could have already handled and could have been really put aside
That's
early
right.
on, right?
That's right.
And that's what I think you are so good at, because you are always thinking 3 steps ahead, and you're wondering, okay, hey, if this is happening now, what's going on down the road? And I think that kind of leads me into another set of questions is like, what do you think differentiates J&K Custom Homes from everybody else out there besides just your background? And I know your team's part of that as well, but like talk to me about that. If I was a client, how would you pitch me? What would you be like, hey, this is what we are the best at and better than anybody else at?
I would say the client experience, and it's such a kind of a cliche, but we come at it from a little bit more of a corporate background. Well, not a little, but from a corporate background.
Entirely, yes.
And we look at the process and procedures we put in place. We just deal with the clients on a more of a concierge level.
Yeah.
And so our clients come out of the build saying your team was fabulous, and not just our immediate team, but our trade partners.
Absolutely.
Their family, their extensions to us, and they know here's our expectation, here's the expectation on how we handle clients, what our job sites look like. And so all that goes into the experience the whole way through. And the feedback I get and what I have witnessed is that the experience our clients have through the build process is something different and more elevated than some of the others.
Yeah, the ones, Well, I think if you go through it being thoughtful on that, because there's the experience, it's not just the experience of your clients, but the experience of your trade partners, of the other people. Because if they get frustrated and everybody doesn't know expectations, then that kind of messes everything up for everybody, right? You have one wheel out of sorts, and then the rest of it kind of goes up in smoke. Because
That's right.
It's amazing how many jobs they go flawlessly throughout, and it's maybe the walkthrough, and somebody's attitude's off, and something goes wrong, and then all that goodwill you created in the beginning goes away, right? It's not just, you can't just be good some of the time.
No.
You got to be good all the time,
It is. And again, it's a journey, right? It's, if you're together 18 months, you need to continue to nurture the relationship and take time and be patient. And it's a lot for clients to understand everything going on, and so a lot of it is education, that's part of our job. We're consultants, we're educators trying to explain to them, here's what's going on, here's what's a fair expectation, here's what's not, here's something unforeseen that's come up, but here's how we can fix it.
Yes, yeah. Well, you get hit from so many different levels and so many different angles that you have to be, the thoughtful and proactive was one sense, but then you have to be concerned with what the client's concern is. You have to know what that is, because every client is so different.
Right.
It's funny. I mean, you come from the corporate background. How many times do you work with somebody that's in the corporate background or corporate world right now and thinks that, gosh, if I did this, it would be so much easier and I would do it this way. And then you're in it now. So you probably thought like, gosh, this should be easier. And then you get into it, you're like, wow, this is a lot. Like it's, I don't know if there's too many other businesses that are as difficult as building homes. I don't know if you'd agree. Of course, I've only been in that. So of course I want to say what I do.
Right. No.
But I feel like it's a very difficult job.
It's very unique.
Yes.
It is. And, while we have 5 people on our immediate team, we have an annual holiday party, there's 100 people that'll show up. And each one of them touches that home in some fashion. And so you're trying to make sure that each one of those partners understand the right way to do it and how the J&K way is. Yeah. And so, it is. There's a lot of moving parts, but
there is.
I mean, it's so rewarding.
Well, you've built the right team, and just everybody that I've known, that I've gotten to know on your team is great, from your designer to Taylor to everybody on there. And I think that's, can you explain the makeup of your team? Like who all's on the team? Sure. What they do, all that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So John Samini is our construction manager and head of operations. He oversees everything going on. As soon as the plan is done and signed off on, he's in there going through the plan with the clients, making sure they understand all the details of the plan, and then everything in the field he's overseeing. Okay. He has Taylor, who has been with us about 5 years now. He's terrific. He's our project manager. Yeah. So he's more of the boots on the ground, also making sure the schedule's working, quality control. He's really in the trenches, in the day-to-day.
Yes, yeah.
Then we have Christina, and she helps shepherd clients through their selection process.
She's great. She does this really well.
Yes. And so they get to spend a lot of time with Christina, and she makes sure that she's getting information from the from the selection meetings transferred back out to the field, and so everyone's on the same page.
Sure.
And again, back to this builder trend system we use that our clients love, where they can see their selection, see what change orders
See it in real
cost.
time, yes.
She's helping manage that.
Okay.
And then we're bringing in an addition. Maggie
Oh,
is starting in a month, and we're excited to have her on board.
Yeah,
And she's
what's
going to
Maggie
help.
do? Yeah.
She's going to support. She's a Buckeye,
Uh-huh.
Ohio State graduate, and she's going to help support Christina.
Okay.
In a lot of
Local.
fashion.
Is she a Buckeye from Columbus or is she local?
From Columbus,
Oh,
yeah.
all right, excellent. Yeah. So growing the team.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm
that's
sure
exciting.
you bring people on to where you see gaps that you need to kind of fill in, right? Because we could have 100 people to help. There's so
Right.
much to do.
There is,
And I know
yeah.
a lot falls on your plate. You didn't even talk about what you do, which is, but we should hit on that because you do a lot. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you
like,
help a ton.
yes.
You know, I mean, the whole team works together. But yeah, my role is really working with the clients and the design process up front. We work with a fantastic architect firm in town. We'll work with other architects as well, but we do partner primarily with him and going through that whole design process and thinking through the spaces that the client wants and how the house is how they're gonna live in the house, how they're gonna use the house, keeping an eye on budget, being thoughtful of the lot. How do we want to really use the lot in the home to see the best parts of the lot?
Which is a lot because
So,
that upfront
yeah.
work kind of sets the tone, right? It's just like the
Right.
more you can figure out up front, the rest just kind of falls in place. And that's not that simple,
Yeah.
of course. But
No.
but it kind of it's just a good set of plans. And you talk about Darren and architects. I mean, that is so pivotal and important. And I think that's where probably one of the custom home builder gets thrown around a lot. Like, what does that really mean and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I look at you as the pinnacle of custom home building, right? Because
Thank
you
you.
do allow, well, it's just true because you allow,
Yeah.
first off, it's the caliber of homes you're building. And if people were to drive into Peterloon or into Kensington or any Long Cove right now, they'd see those homes. And I think all of us can tell when you drive down the street and you're like, wow, that's a good looking house. Maybe they don't know exactly why it's good looking. They just like it. It's because every element had a little bit of thought and it's not cheap materials anywhere.
Right.
And I think that's where like custom isn't just, hey, this is a design just for you. It's all those elements kind of coming together in a concert to make sure it all works. And I think it's a challenge. It's so hard.
It is, and and thank you, and I agree that our architect puts such a focus on the right proportions and the right materials.
Yes.
And then we work with a fabulous interior designer, and so then she's bringing in colors and additional materials, and then all of a sudden it comes together, and people don't know what they love about the house, but they just love it. And that comes up in a lot of meetings. They're like, I don't know what it is about your homes because they're not all the same style, but everyone just feels good.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you should come inside. They're even better inside too,
Yes,
you know. But
You just sent me the photos of the house in Peterloon, the ones that you did where you got Greg Rupenhoff. Give him a shout out for some great photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that house looked incredible. Like everything coming together, it looked so sharp. We'll pop up if you're okay with this, some photos as we're talking right now. But like that's the greatest part is like those. You get to see the fruits of all the labor, and of course, like pretty photos are pretty photos. The houses look great, but all the effort that took to get to there is 100 people. It's 100, and it's thousands of hours. But that makes me think of something. Just obviously, I mentioned my favorite house that you've done, and I'm curious, what's your favorite project that you've ever had to work on? And I don't know if there's just I've seen that you've done a lot. I mean, from Homerama in 2019, which was an awesome house.
Yes, loved that house
there. And that kind of fun, which is one of my favorites as well. But
the Hampton, right?
Hampton, yes.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's your favorite project that you've worked on?
I know I'm guessing we're aligned on this. It is a mid-century modern home.
Yes.
That's tucked down a lane.
I steered you there, didn't I?
Yeah,
I know it would have been.
well,
this house is so unique. We've done hundreds of homes, and this one still stands out. It's so freaking awesome.
It is.
Yes.
It's so it's a mid-century modern home, and they came to us with such a clear vision on what they wanted it to be, and the architect was so excited about it. The whole team. It was just like, this is a challenge, let's do it.
Yes.
We brought material in from Michigan that we hadn't used before.
What was the name of the product?
I
put you on the spot.
Yeah.
It was like a finished product or something like that. Was it
Kebony.
Kebony, yes.
Kebony. And now it's actually available here in Cincinnati because we've used it on 2 homes, and we're like, please source it locally.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we got to use different materials that we hadn't used. And I think it's really, the end product is so beautiful and so livable when you're inside. You've been inside. You just want to sit down, have a cup of coffee, or iced tea, whichever. But
exactly. I'm drinking
either
my coffee.
one. But
you drink your
but you do. As soon as you walk in the home, you just want to sit down and stay. It's so livable and comfortable, but it's beautiful, and it's the kind of home also that while it definitely has a style to it, 50 years from now, it'll still be stunning.
It'll be.
You walk in some of those older homes around the corner from us here, and 50 years later, it's still beautiful. It needs a little updating, but it's one of those homes.
It's not trendy. It's just built into the fabric of good design and that was not a cheap home. Like obviously in any fashion, right? Like, very expensive on the Kevin, the siding and all that kind of stuff.
Right. The floor to ceiling windows, the concrete floor. Yeah.
What type of windows did you use in the house? Because was that Anderson?
Those are Anderson.
Yeah. It was. I mean, that's where you don't. It's almost like a commercial grade style because there's no trim really at the bottom or very little. It's just that design is something that you would see outside of Cincinnati.
Right.
Or you would pin it on Pinterest.
Yes.
That's the house that people probably would pin over and over and over again.
Right.
And it's incredible.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't fit. Let's talk about like that because the house, you couldn't just build that in a normal neighborhood. If you're driving down, you could, don't get me wrong, but like it fits because this is an infill setting that's on a lot that's very private. It just fits that setting more than probably anything else. So you got to be really careful not to take a house like that and then stick it into insert suburban neighborhood here, right? Like you don't want to, that's not the way you do that, right? No. So it has to be very thoughtful.
No, and it was, and I mean, we walked that lot several times during the design process with the layout in front of us saying, okay, this is the view from this room. This is the view from that room. And it was the perfect backdrop for floor to ceiling windows. And then the breezeways that are also floor to ceiling windows connecting. You have a breezeway out to the master, then you have a breezeway out to the garage. And it's just, with complete see-through. It's so cool. Special.
Who designed that house?
Ken Bowerman.
Ken Bowerman. Okay, yes. Yep. So obviously Ken's been an architect in Taryn.
Was his
business partner
we work with both. Yep.
Yes, right there. They work for the same firm. It's just that again, that design, you could never pick that house up and just say, hey, I'm going to build that again over here. Wouldn't work, right?
No.
Hence custom.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one, if I ever said I have an issue with houses, it's like when they just pick up a plan, they're like, that was great, so now I'm going to build it over here. You can start with the plan and start with that, but you got to make it, I mean, let's be honest, like the windows, they're going to face something different on every single lot. You have to be thinking about sight lines and views and how the light comes in. And that's what I think is so cool about you all. We just did this experience over on Erie Road with some fantastic clients. That's going to be an incredible house, but it was not easy, right? To get all the components that we wanted to have come together. And now it's an awesome house.
Yeah.
And it took a few months.
Yeah.
Right? Just a few, just took to put it together.
But it was it's not the part of the process you want to rush.
No. Yes.
You know, you want to take time to marinate over the plan and think about like, okay, does this feel right? Yeah. What are the spaces? How am I going to use it again? All those things. And we sit around as a team.
Yeah.
What about this? Should we change that? You just don't want to rush that part.
You don't. You got to take your time. And you're spending a lot of money. You know, these are $2, $3, $4 million houses plus on that kind of front. Well, how about this? I'm curious. So like as a buyer's watching this and they're getting ready to sit down with you, what are some questions you think they should ask and are important to know going into the process? Like going into building a home. Is there anything that jumps out to you like, hey, they should probably know about this?
Probably the first would be understanding the process and how communication and overages run.
Okay.
And also, I love to be transparent as much as I can about our allowances.
Yes.
So I'll have clients go out and go ahead and start to pick your appliances. Let's go ahead and put together your cabinet package because that's the black hole in building, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a good allowance, but I don't know. Well, we try to show you what that allowance will get you. You don't have to pick those things, but at least you have a feeling for what you're going to have.
Yes, yeah.
So understanding the process, the communication, and how am I going to understand if I'm going to be way over on allowances or what's a change order, what constitutes one, what doesn't, and then ask for references.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
from recent clients, right? Like, not the 10-year ago client. They talk to everybody, right?
Yeah, So that's just a great way to get to know, understand how someone else's experience was with the builder, and if that aligns with your expectation and what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's good because I think when clients come in, you know, we have a list of top 15 questions that every buyer should ask a builder. And it's just, but I think it's important for you being asked the questions and you want them to know you. Of course, you want to know who you're getting into business with, because it's a business relationship. You guys are going to be together for a while, but you also want them to know and know what to expect down the road. So then they don't ask the right thing, and then they feel like they're either misled or confused at the end and frustrated.
Right.
And also, is there anything that a client does that, this is a curveball, so I'm sorry to throw you off. Sorry. Is there anything that a client does that frustrates you? Like anything that either they do, they ask, they don't understand?
Well, I have had to tell someone they can no longer drink in Pinterest.
yeah, exactly.
And they're
drinking and other things they could do.
Fantastic clients, but we would get emails and new ideas throughout the whole process. And the key is, once you finish those selections, and as a team, everybody knows this is the right answer. These are going to work terrific together. You have to step away from the internet and stop talking to your friends or comparing what they think that light fixture should be, because it'll just make you crazy.
Yeah, there's 1,000 good ways to build a home. And unfortunately, you can't do all of them.
No,
it just can't be the way it is.
And trust that we're going to help you explore all the different options and vet different materials. But then you have to step away and trust the process and
just go on.
And enjoy it, because you will absolutely make yourself crazy if you sit in Pinterest every night rethinking every decision.
Just become an interior designer, and then they can do that for a living for somebody else. And that kind of
Get paid for it then.
Yeah, exactly. Make some money for all the amount of money you're about to spend. We always tell that with people after they buy a house, don't keep the portal live and don't keep looking, because inevitably either one or two things is going to happen. You're going to be really happy because you don't see anything else that pops on the market, or you're going to be ticked off because you see another house that pops up on the market 2 weeks later. We should have bought that one.
Right.
So it's the same thing. And
turn it off.
That's exactly. And that's what's hard about this, is because people get so consumed that they love it. I mean, there are the people that you will bill with that they're like, just tell me when to pick things out and I'll go do it, and I'm not thinking about it twice.
Right.
But a lot of people get consumed and excited because they've waited maybe their whole life to do this.
Absolutely.
And they've been collecting photos and that sort of thing for a long time.
And they should. I mean, and we want them to be excited.
Yeah.
It's not fun if someone's, this is my 20th home we've built. We haven't had that, but we want them to be excited. We want to be excited with them.
Sure.
But at some point, we also don't want to see them driving themselves crazy, second-guessing decisions the whole way through.
Down the road, yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, as we close up, the last thing I want to hit on is your design studio and your office is awesome. It's over at Harper's Point. Right there in would be the edge of Montgomery and Sims Township right there. So like perfectly located around.
It is.
But you're doing some redesign, changing some things up in there, I think, a little bit right now. Right. But that's been a great spot for clients to come into and not only know what they're getting themselves into, but they can actually see things, right?
It is. Yeah. It's. It is absolutely a space of collaboration, right? We all sit around. We don't even have offices, frankly. We just have big conference table in the front and in the back, and that's where we can sit around and go over plans and talk about selections. Our clients store the selections there, so they don't have to schlep them all over. And right there, you can see the products. You can see the cabinet products, flooring products. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other materials out there they can choose from. But it really helps them understand, hey, you don't have to pick this one, but just so you know, this would be an allowance. Would this feel okay?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly. Set the tone right there. And then you get some, just help. The more you know up front, the more you can be prepared for them to understand. Because allowances are created by what they want, right? So the more you know about what they want, the more you can add that in there. So it's not there. So how can people get in touch with you? Obviously, your website, right?
Website, jkcustomhomes.net.
Perfect.
You can make an appointment, call us, make an appointment to stop by the design center. Always happy to meet there. Call you. That's always a
exactly.
great way to find us.
And I'll add your information below down in the video and all that kind of stuff. And then social media too, Facebook and Instagram, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have some great stuff. Yes. Yeah. So you're not hard to find as far as that goes. And then if you drive pretty much anywhere in Indian Hill, Mason, Montgomery, you're going to see your homes over there. So don't just run on into them by yourselves, because it might be a little dangerous on some of these. Right. Although I've been known to do that a time or two. But just drive up and down. I think that's where you'll see. You can always, when you drive by some nice homes in Peterloon, you can always see you're not always having to do the biggest home. It's all about the details in there, right? You've done some huge homes, but sometimes it's about just the elements and the details and just crafting a really great plan together.
That's right.
It's not all about size that matters on that kind of front.
No, and helping bring the client's vision to life. Yeah. That's really what it's all about too.
Yeah. Well, and I know you well enough to know that you don't, kind of like me, you don't really shut off on a lot of this stuff. You're always kind of going, you're always doing it. Obviously with families and kids, and you try to be focused on them.
Yeah.
But you have the perfect balance of this. But you take this so seriously, and you really you enjoy it, which is rare for a lot of people out there. Like sometimes you get, we always say this with my agents, you get to the point where you've done so many deals that you get grumpy.
Yeah.
And so it's always a pleasure getting to hang out and talk with you, because I like the people that I can, when I'm having a bad day, you'll let me have a bad day and talk about it, but we're still always happy and smiling and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way when it comes to working with customers. I think that's really important, because building a home is tough for everybody involved, but with the right partners, it's good.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. No, we love what we do. Everyone on our team loves what they do, and it's it's a blessing to love your job. A lot of people out there don't. So
I could not agree with you more.
It is a real
fortunate. I'll say
privilege.
cheers to that with your Indian Hill Cup.
With my Indian Hill Cup,
yes.
right?
Thank you for taking the time and
Oh my
doing
gosh,
this with us.
anytime.
Well, she was nervous about coming on and seeing. I didn't give her much heads up before we did this, so hopefully the video turns out well. This was great. I appreciate this a lot. I just want to have people see the conversations I get to see on a day in, day out basis.
No,
so thank you.
It's been great to be here. Very fun. Thanks.
Thank you.